Good afternoon, guys. It is 8 minutes past 2 on Wednesday, the 27th of December 2023. And it's a horrible day outside here, I have to say. But on the other hand, things look pretty positive in the market, which, as you can see, is open at present. You may not see just so easily the clear blue water that appears to be emerging between the investment amount and the return on investment. Although I suppose it's these two figures here, and if we follow the progress from the bottom up to the top, you'll see that where at certain points it was in the red, in other words negative, it is now almost 11% in the green. So let's just do that. So actually in the early days, there was a point there minus 3.8%. It may have been worse. Oh, there was a minus 4.7% at 5,000 invested. And I think after that there's only, oh well, there's a 3.15. I was going to say there's only very, very scant transition into the negative end of things. Actually, do you know what? I've just realised I'm only looking at a 1 year timeline there. Let's set it to the max and see what that looks like. Now I'm only not going to spend too long on this, but there was minus 5 and a fifth percent at 1440 invested. This is really just to let you have a look to appreciate the fact that in the early days in particular, I think you can expect to see more time spent, if you like, in the red than perhaps in the green. But then as as time goes on, you should begin to see that things change around again, and in fact, the chances of being in the red should diminish quite significantly. I mean, if we look back from the current date there, so December, so basically end of 2023, let's continue back until we see any red emerging. Oh, I put the mouse a little bit too low there, and right, there we are. So there is some red. That was May 2023. So actually in the space of that period from May through to now, what is that? That's 7 months, perhaps almost 8 months, depending on how you count it. We've seen a 10% rise, and the current kind of point, it appears fairly consistent. But anyway, guys, let's go and have a look at our normal view of the market. Now, if you remember last time, we had or I had forgotten to do the stream when the market was open, and hence we had ended up with an order in the pending orders at the bottom here. So as you can see now, there are no pending orders at the present time, so let's just drop that down, and let's see what we got. I'm trying to remember how much was the market at, 70.86 or something. I vaguely remember trying to remember that figure. Oh goodness. Right, so 8 o'clock this morning, I think that was, the market opened, and it opened high. We ended up buying 1.68 shares for £71.30. So the market it has dropped back 40p from, no, sorry, it's dropped back 30p actually, roundabout, from that high point. Now, interestingly, there's a little note there, obviously, about Man United. I'm not sure why it says high volatility. It's only up 4%, and there's obviously some kind of a deal going on at the minute. Well, I suppose it's a bit of volatility, perhaps compared to normal. I'm not too sure. Right, I want to do that because whenever it's like that there, it's just kind of mad looking. So that looks a little bit more sensible. Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that we actually paid more this morning, it must have been a very fleeting price because, as you can see, the market is 30p lower than that, and yet it is showing here that there's been almost a 0.5% rise on the day. Which actually counters the 0.5% fall for this time last week. So the actual return on investment there, as things stand, as I say, just under 11%. Now, what's actually slightly frustrating about that is that I know in my real money account, if you like, that I have actually received a dividend payment for VUSA, but that hasn't happened here. So, despite the fact that this is supposed to be, basically a hypothetical model. And I was hoping it would be as close to reality as possible. The fact is that the dividend payments haven't made their way across to the practice end of things. Now, in all honesty, the dividend is not a king's ransom. It's actually going to be pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things, at least for this time anyway. I think there may be times in future where it might be a little bit more advantageous, but no, as things stand, that dividend would not really make an awful pile of difference. And as such, I don't think it really significantly affects the modelling. It may, hypothetically, it may slightly reduce the final amount that we end up with, but not by much. So, guys, with that said, I want to get on and put in today's investment, or this week's investment, I suppose I should say. And that is, of course, as usual, £120. And oh goodness, let's get the right numbers. £120. And so, as you know, we're buying the S&P 500, the Vanguard version with the low costs. £120 worth, which is roughly going to be worth 1.7 shares at current market value, and current price they're sitting at just under £71. This is the Trading 212 practice platform. Nothing happens until I hit send buy order. This is just indicative data. So when I send the buy order, watch for a notification up here. Is there anything going to appear? Now that's interesting because the market is open. We have sent it. There we go. So we got fulfilled at 70.995 pence, which appears to be pretty much the going rate. And yes, our figures have updated. So as you can see on the right hand side here, that has just tipped our portfolio value just over the £12,000 mark. I forget whether I said or not, I don't think I did. This is year 1, week 38 of this investment journey. And of course you can follow the journey on YouTube. There is a playlist set up, and the videos are listed there in order, so you can actually kind of have a look and see how things have progressed over time if you could be bothered to do so. I'm not going to suggest whether you should or shouldn't. Now, what I might actually do, because I had changed things around a little bit in OBS, and now rather than looking at some kind of a screen, well, previously I was looking at a kind of a captured focused window, if that makes sense. It barely makes sense to me, but basically what it means is that rather than actually displaying the full screen, what I had managed to achieve before was to get the streaming software to focus a particular tab within Chrome. But that then meant that I could only display stuff that was actually in Chrome itself, whereas due to a couple of changes that I've made, and in a way had to make, I now actually have it set so that it is focused on the display on the monitor itself as opposed to the actual browser page or the browser tab, if that makes sense. The beauty of that, guys, is that allows me to show you other stuff on screen. So for instance, if I do that, all of a sudden you're looking at the Firearm Band 2 Excel sheet, which is actually available through the website. And there's details to access the website on the YouTube channel. Now, what I want to do is I want to make that a little bit bigger because it's a bit too small for you to read. Hopefully you can read that. And I just want to check and see where we are at in the grand scheme of things. So, as I say, this is year 1, so there is this. By the way, this is just a forecast. Okay, so there's week 0 of year 0, and that was the very first £120 invested. But as I say, we're now at year 1, and we need to find week 38. So there is week 38. Let's actually just do that, and that just helps to see it a little easier. And the box that I'm looking for is this one here, 11921 it says. That is the kind of the forecast of where we should be at in our FIRE journey if the market was indeed increasing at an average of 10% per annum on a cumulative basis. Now, as I say, I'm not entirely sure whether 11921 is whether that's supposed to be before we do the investment or after. So let's say it was before the investment. 11921. I actually forget what the market was at. 11921. Let's see here. So currently we're looking at 12094. and if I can see what I'm doing, I'll get a calculator on screen. And I just want to work out, so the 12094 less 120, oh goodness, sorry, less 120. So the market value, the portfolio value, sorry, before we added in the 120 was probably in around 11974. I know things have moved a little bit, and I forget quite frankly where it was at, but let's say 11974 is roughly where it was at, and the figure we were looking for was 11921. So, on that basis, guys, I'm going to say that so far we are looking as though we are pretty much where we need to be to basically prove the financial independence, retire early model. Now, that said, it is early days, and I don't look at this every week or even every month. I only do it periodically, and you could say, well, the market is sitting at an all-time high at present. Aren't you massaging the figures or the truth slightly or something like that? Guys, I would invite you to go and have a look at any other year or week within the time that has elapsed so far, and compare, see where the portfolio value was in comparison to the forecast, and draw your own conclusions from that. What I would say is it could never have been too far out, because ultimately if it does lose too much ground, so to speak, then it'll not be able to recover that back again. So I find that quite reassuring, actually, that we are, at least as far as I can tell, pretty much on track. And I'm looking forward to seeing what next year brings. Now, interestingly, if we look at the figures down at the bottom here, you'll notice that today's value compared to this time last year is actually almost 18% higher than this time last year. And I think it is worth pointing out that we did have quite a period of virtually nothing happening in terms of price. And therefore that increase is required to kind of make back some of that lost ground. At the same time, it's also worth pointing out that even when the market had actually dipped, we were able, as a result, to buy slightly more shares because the price was a bit lower, so we were able to get a little bit more than what we would have done if the market had continued along its previous trend line. So guys, that is probably pretty much everything for today. All that remains is for me to thank you for watching, and of course I'll be back again at some point during the next week or so with another £120 to invest. And if you're interested in following the journey, why not subscribe to the channel? If you particularly like this one, you could give it a thumbs up. And as I say, have a great end to your Wednesday. Thanks for watching.